Every bit of data transmitted from that venerable spacecraft, received over 16 hours ago, is revealing something profound, something entirely new to our understanding of the cosmos. The most distant human-made object in the universe, a silent sentinel of our ambition, is once again sending usable information back to Earth. A signal, faint yet undeniably present, has just arrived from the very edge of deep space. It emanated from Voyager One, and the message it carried has irrevocably altered our perception of reality. Hours after the enigmatic interstellar object, designated 3I Atlas, swept past our solar system, it too transmitted something utterly unprecedented. Scientists listened intently to layered tones, to reversed harmonics, to an aspectral signature that defied any known Earth-made system or natural phenomenon. Initially, the overwhelming consensus among the telemetry teams was that it must be a glitch, a malfunction born of immense distance and the ravages of time. But then, a chilling realization dawned. Its signal began to mirror specific patterns embedded within the Golden Record, the very artifact humanity sent into the void aboard Voyager itself, a cosmic message in a bottle. Now, the implications of that mirrored signal, combined with Voyager One's own transmissions, may have confirmed our deepest, most primal fear. The two travelers, one ancient emissary of humanity and one mysterious visitor from beyond, appear to have met. In a remarkable testament to human ingenuity and perseverance, NASA engineers, against all odds, managed to re-establish a tenuous but vital communication link with the Voyager One spacecraft. On December 19th, at precisely 170 million miles from Earth, the interstellar object, now officially known as 3I Atlas, reached its closest point to our planet. For months, a mysterious interstellar object had been hurtling towards our solar system, igniting a fervent excitement among scientists across the globe. If through the outer reaches of our solar system, another signal, equally mysterious, arrived from far beyond. It came from Voyager One, a spacecraft that, by all scientific predictions, should have gone completely silent years ago. At this very moment, Voyager One is more than 15 billion miles from Earth. That staggering distance translates to over 170 astronomical units, firmly placing it deep within interstellar space. It possesses no fuel for propulsion, no means for upgrades, its core systems having been engineered in the 1970s. It operates on a power source that has been steadily fading since the late 1990s. In short, it should be dying, a relic adrift in the cosmic ocean. But something strange has kept it alive, and something even stranger, perhaps, has just awakened it. The timing of these events, the arrival of 3I Atlas and the reawakening of Voyager One, is simply too precise to be ignored. While it is not entirely surprising for a piece of technology that is 4.5 decades old to experience anomalies, especially one that has been operating for nearly 3.5 decades longer than its intended lifespan, this convergence feels different. 3. Die. Atlas was first spotted on July 1st by the Atlas Survey Telescope in Chile. Its path was immediately recognized as unique. It wasn't merely orbiting the Sun. It was passing straight through our system, and this was definitively an interstellar object, a rare glimpse into the universe beyond our star. We had only just acquired fresh images of 3I Atlas, marking it as only the third interstellar object ever observed from Earth. Yet, across the globe, it moved in a strange, almost unnatural arc, a path that seemed to adjust in real time, as if responding to an unseen influence. Meanwhile, Voyager One, far out in the cosmic abyss, had been transmitting irregular signal patterns since early August, whispers from the void that now, in retrospect, take on a profoundly unsettling meaning. The universe, it seems, is far more alive and perhaps far more aware than we ever dared to imagine. From the vast, silent canvas of interstellar space, a faint, fractured whisper began to reach Earth. The data packets, painstakingly gathered from the venerable Voyager One probe, were profoundly incomplete, a digital mosaic with crucial pieces missing. Yet, amidst the garbled chaos, one particular pattern persisted, a recurring anomaly that defied immediate explanation. It's the standardized languages of terrestrial telemetry, nor any known communication protocol developed by humanity. For months, NASA engineers, accustomed to the vagaries of deep space communication, initially dismissed it as mere, perhaps the inevitable failing of instruments pushed far beyond their design lifespan. It was a rational, understandable conclusion, given the extreme environment and Voyager's advanced age. Months of meticulous transmissions unintelligible, creating a digital fog over critical data logs. But then, as internal records were subjected to the scrutiny of outside contractors, a profoundly unsettling phrase began to surface repeatedly within the diagnostic reports: signal overlap. Astronomers, cross-referencing this cryptic notation, observed a curious celestial event. Between the 17th and 19th of December, a faint, almost imperceptible alignment had occurred in the projected signal arcs of two distinct objects. One was Voyager One, humanity's farthest emissary, drifting silently into the void. The other, a mysterious interstellar object designated 3I Atlas, charting an unusually curved trajectory through our solar system. Due to Atlas's strange, non-Keplerian path and Voyager One's continuous outward drift, these two disparate entities briefly entered what scientists would later term a contact corridor. For a fleeting window, less than 3 hours in duration, both objects were, technically, within each other's signal reach. The crucial caveat, however, was the assumption of an active emitter. Normally, such a scenario would be considered impossible. Voyager One, by design, primarily listens. Its powerful instruments are tuned to detect cosmic rays, magnetic fields, and plasma waves, not to broadcast. Furthermore, its own transmitter, a relic of late 20th century technology, is so incredibly weak after decades of operation that even NASA's most sensitive deep space network antennas now struggle to pick up its faint heartbeat. Indeed, for many months leading up to this period, NASA had received nothing but garbled, indecipherable data from Voyager One, a frustrating testament to the vast distances and the relentless march of time. Yet, precisely during that narrow 3-hour contact corridor, something extraordinary happened. Voyager's low-band signal, typically a whisper against the cosmic roar, spiked dramatically, reaching its strongest strength in over a decade. It transmitted what is now controversially referred to as the final transmission, a data packet that contained not only routine instrument readings, but, embedded within its core, an entirely new waveform. This precise, structured energy signature had never before been recorded in any previous Voyager transmission, a stark departure from decades of established protocols. For some, this was nothing more than a profound cosmic coincidence. They argue that Voyager, an aging marvel of engineering, simply experienced a random glitch during the same 3-day window that 3I Atlas made its closest approach to Earth. A statistical anomaly, nothing more. But for others, the implications are far more profound. The waveform contained within that transmission was undeniably precise. It repeated with an astonishing regularity every 19.7 minutes, a rhythmic pulse echoing across the vastness. Moreover, its harmonics, the subtle overtones that define its unique signature, matched neither Earth's atmospheric noise nor the background radiation emanating from our own sun. It was an alien melody, distinct and unidentifiable. This enigmatic code has since been meticulously transferred to specialized processing chips, allowing scientists to finally begin extracting sensible data, moving beyond the initial garble. And perhaps most disturbing of all, the timing of this unprecedented transmission matched with chilling exactitude the moment 3I Atlas reached its perihelion, the point in its trajectory closest to the Sun, a celestial rendezvous point. There is no mechanism for sending real-time instructions to a probe situated 15 billion miles away. The sheer tyranny of the speed of light imposes a delay of nearly 1 full day for a signal to travel in a single direction. Anything executed by Voyager must either be pre-programmed decades in advance or autonomously decided by its onboard system. Therefore, if Voyager One suddenly initiated the transmission of entirely new, structured information during that specific, fleeting corridor window, data that included complex, self-correcting waveforms, it strongly suggests that an internal system within the spacecraft was deliberately triggered. The sheer weight of these coincidences, the precise timing, the unprecedented signal strength, the alien waveform, the celestial alignment, it is simply too much to attribute to mere chance. It forces us to confront the unsettling possibility that in the silent depths of space, something, or someone, was listening, and perhaps responding. The universe, it seems, still holds secrets that defy our most cherished assumptions, waiting to be unveiled in the most unexpected whispers from the void. For nearly half a century, a lone sentinel has journeyed into the profound darkness beyond our star. No other human craft has pierced this veil, and it will be many decades, perhaps even a century, before another of our creations reaches the true frontiers of the sun's dominion, to cast its gaze upon what lies beyond its gravitational embrace. Until then, our knowledge of the deep interstellar void remains a tapestry woven from the faintest, most distant threads. Yet, a new chapter in this cosmic narrative has begun to unfold. A third interstellar object, a Voyager from an unknown star, has entered our solar system. And its behavior defies every astronomical expectation, every known law of celestial mechanics. It moves with In a fleeting, utterly improbable moment, this enigmatic intruder achieved a brief, silent alignment with that very same probe. The one that departed Earth nearly 5 decades ago, now a distant echo in the cosmic ocean. And at that precise instant, against all odds, the venerable craft, a relic of humanity's nascent space age, transmitted back its strongest, most coherent signal in years. A burst of data, structured and robust, piercing through the cosmic static that had long been its only voice. What had, for so long, been dismissed as mere background noise, an artifact of an aging instrument's failing power, suddenly transformed. It became a mirror, something immeasurably distant, immeasurably alien, had reflected our oldest, most profound message back at us. The very signals humanity had launched into the void, a testament to our existence, now echoed, amplified, from a source unknown. Yet this astonishing reflection, this cosmic reverberation, is not the most profound mystery currently confounding the finest scientific minds on Earth. No, the true struggle lies elsewhere. Until now, the universe beyond our solar system felt, in many ways, an abstract concept. But astronomers have just detected another anomaly, a new presence, blazing its way relentlessly into the heart of our cosmic neighborhood. On the first day of July, in the year 2025, the Advanced Atlas Survey Telescope, nestled high in the arid mountains of Chile, logged an object that refused to conform. Its trajectory, its velocity, its very essence did not align with any known orbital pattern, any predictable celestial path. Initially, it wasn't flagged for urgent attention. After all, the vast digital archives of astronomical surveys swell with thousands of new celestial bodies every single year. The vast majority of them are harmless, ordinary chunks of rock and ice, or simply too far away to warrant sustained observation. Most are destined to remain mere catalog entries, statistical footnotes in the grand cosmic ledger. But this one was different. This addicts of gravitational physics. Its speed was wrong, accelerating with an unnatural velocity that screamed of an origin far beyond our sun's influence. And even its shape, a ghostly, shifting presence in the telescopic data, seemed impossible to accurately pin down. "We cannot really pinpoint the nucleus size," explained Dr. Eris Thorne, lead astronomer at the European Southern Observatory, his voice tinged with a mixture of frustration and awe. Especially due to the sheer scale of the object, but also, critically, due to its intense and unusual activity. Within a mere handful of days, the collective scientific community realized they were staring at something profoundly rare, something unprecedented. This was no returning comet executing another predictable loop around our star. This was no distant, unthreatening asteroid merely passing through. This was an interloper. It was not gracefully looping around the sun on an elliptical path bound by our star's gravity. Instead, the data unequivocally revealed a hyperbolic trajectory. This meant one thing. It was flying in from outside our solar system, a cosmic bullet slicing through the interstellar medium, destined to pass once and then vanish forever, never to return. Overed only the third confirmed interstellar visitor in its recorded history. It had arrived from beyond the stars, a silent, enigmatic traveler. It swept past Earth with an unnerving grace, a ghost in the cosmic machine. And even now, under the intense scrutiny of every major observatory on the planet, it stubbornly. The first such confirmed visitor was Oumuamua, discovered in 2017. It baffled astronomers with its peculiar cometary tail, a crucial signature of icy bodies interacting with solar radiation. Its non-gravitational acceleration sparked intense debate, even whispers of artificial origin. The second was Comet Borisov, identified in 2019. While it presented a more familiar cometary appearance, complete with a distinct tail, its trajectory confirmed its origin from far beyond our solar system, traveling from an even more distant star system than Oumuamua. Now, there was a third. This new arrival, provisionally designated 3I Atlas, due to its detection by the Atlas Survey Telescope and its enigmatic, multifaceted observational profile, was already proving to be larger, faster, and far more unsettling than its two predecessors. At first, astronomers cautiously believed it to be a comet. It was a safe, conventional assumption based on the faint, diffuse glow and the characteristic light curve recorded by the Atlas telescope. The initial data suggested the presence of a coma, a cloud of gas and dust typically associated with cometary outgassing. "This is the FNG in volatile compounds." Her voice hushed with a mixture of disbelief and intellectual excitement. "Where there is a distinct glow ahead of the object, directly towards the sun." This observation alone was revolutionary, defying fundamental principles. Cometary tails, driven by solar wind and radiation pressure, always point away from the sun. A glow towards it suggested an entirely different mechanism, a process unknown, perhaps even impossible, under standard astrophysical models. But as more powerful observatories around the world, from the towering domes of Mauna Kea to the vast arrays of the Atacama Desert, locked onto its elusive form, something truly extraordinary began to emerge. A pattern of behavior, a set of inexplicable phenomena that shook even the most cautious and empirically grounded researchers to their core. The universe, it seemed, was preparing to reveal a secret far grander and perhaps far more terrifying than humanity had ever dared to imagine. The silence of space, once thought empty, now seemed to hum with an unheard presence, challenging our very understanding of existence. In the cold vacuum of space, an object appeared, defying the very tenets of celestial mechanics. It possessed what seemed to be a tail, yet its orientation was profoundly unsettling. Instead of streaming away from the sun, as all known cometary effluvia should, this enigmatic appendage pointed directly toward it. In the foundational principles of basic astronomy, such a phenomenon should simply not be possible. A comet's magnificent, luminous tail is universally understood to be formed by the relentless pressure of solar radiation and the ceaseless flow of the solar wind, which together push dust and gas away from the comet's icy nucleus. This fundamental interaction produces the classic glowing trail, an ethereal banner that, without exception, always streams in the direction diametrically opposite the sun, a cosmic weather vane pointing away from its star. But the early startling images of the object designated 3I Atlas presented a profoundly different narrative. The tail, if it could even be called that, appeared to be reversed. The object was unequivocally shedding material, or at least something that bore a striking resemblance to material, in the very direction of the sun itself. This observation immediately forced astronomers to confront one of two equally extraordinary conclusions. Either the object was reacting to some fundamental force within the cosmos that we, with all our sophisticated instruments and centuries of accumulated knowledge, do not yet comprehend, or, far more provocatively, it was intentionally emitting particles on a trajectory entirely of its own design, a deliberate act rather than a passive reaction. Even stranger than its impossible tail was the object's erratic luminosity. Its brightness would fluctuate, not in the long, gradual, and predictable brightening curves characteristic of comets as they heat up and outgas, but in short, sharp, almost aggressive pulses. These bursts of light arrived at remarkably regular intervals, then abruptly ceased, only to resume again after a distinct, consistent ling. To entertain such a radical interpretation, the very notion challenged too many established paradigms. But the ones who did dare to consider it, the intrepid few willing to peer beyond conventional wisdom, began a meticulous, almost desperate search. They delved into ancient myths, re-examined forgotten models, and scoured historical records, searching for anything, any pattern, any whisper of a match to this precise anomalous behavior. That is when the ancient Incan citadel of Machu Picchu, nestled high in the Peruvian Andes, unexpectedly emerged from the shadows of history. A team from the prestigious University of La Plata in Argentina released a controversial white paper in August, igniting a firestorm of debate within the scientific community. They proposed a daring hypothesis that the Incan architecture of Machu Picchu might contain precise astronomical alignments that corresponded directly with the projected arc of 3I Atlas. This wasn't merely a vague correlation, a general sense of solar positioning for certain buildings, or a symbolic ceremonial layout. According to their painstaking analysis, one of the central stone corridors within the citadel faced the sky at the exact angle that Atlas would be passing on December 19th. This audacious idea was, predictably, met with considerable skepticism. Theories of ancient alignments are hardly new. They have been proposed for millennia. People have attempted to connect the megalithic circles of Stonehenge, the monumental pyramids of Egypt, and the enigmatic Nazca lines with all manner of celestial patterns, often with more enthusiasm than empirical evidence. But this time, the numbers were different. They were, unnervingly, far more precise. The corridor did not just align once for a fleeting moment. It matched the object's projected arc across the sky for a full 72-hour period. That level of undeniable precision, spanning 3 days, made some people profoundly nervous. If this was intentional, if this intricate celestial knowledge had been meticulously recorded in stone centuries ago, then it meant one thing: that someone, some intelligence, had lift action. It would suggest that an ancient civilization, perhaps the very Incans themselves, had deemed this encounter significant enough, perhaps even perilous enough, to leave behind a warning etched into the very fabric of their sacred architecture. Simultaneously, as the debate raged over Machu Picchu, observatories across Europe and Asia began to report another disturbing anomaly. The object's light, under intense spectroscopic analysis, was not reflecting normally. It exhibited an unusual spectral signature, lacking the characteristic emission lines of natural cometary dust and gas, and instead hinting at something far more structured, perhaps even metallic or artificial. The light was being absorbed, polarized, or re-emitted in ways that defied known natural processes, further deepening the cosmic riddle. The universe, it seemed, was whispering secrets, and humanity was only just beginning to listen. What profound truths, what ancient warnings might we be on the precipice of uncovering about our place in this vast, mysterious cosmos? The question hangs, suspended, in the silence between the stars. It defied all expectations, refusing to conform to the established characteristics of an inert celestial body. This object, initially catalogued as a coy-smooth possessive, early spectral analysis, the very cornerstone of astronomical identification, yielded utterly confusing results. No clear elemental composition could be definitively pinned down. The data refused to coalesce into any recognizable signature of known astrophysical materials. Furthermore, its albedo, the measure of how much light a surface reflects, was equally enigmatic. The object either absorbed nearly all incident light, rendering it almost invisible against the cosmic backdrop, or it was redirecting that light with an unnatural, almost engineered precision. Such a degree of reflectivity, or indeed, the lack thereof combined with its unusual spectral signature, strongly suggested sophisticated engineering rather than the chaotic, random processes of cosmic erosion or natural formation. A brief, cautious attempt was subsequently made to probe the object using ground-based radar during its closest safe approach to Earth. The expectation was a clear, if distant, return signal. What came back, however, was a faint echo, too weak to generate any discernible image, yet imbued with a peculiar harmonic distortion. The engineers, veterans of countless deep space tracking missions, immediately noted its anomalous quality. It sounded off, they thought, merely reflected the radar pulse, but had actively bounced it back, perhaps even with intent. That singular moment, that strange, distorted echo, marked a profound shift in perception, a turning point where everything began to change. The profound implications of this discovery stemmed from a fundamental understanding of cosmic probability. Once an object enters our solar system from the vast emptiness of deep space, the statistical odds of it arriving by pure chance are astronomically, almost unbelievably, low. Space itself is incomprehensibly vast. The distances between star systems are almost unthinkable, measured in light years and parsecs. An object originating from another stellar system would typically have to traverse tens of thousands of years, crossing impossible, mind-numbing gaps of interstellar vacuum. And yet, here it was, manifesting within our cosmic neighborhood, threading the needle past the colossal gas giants, gracefully crossing the tumultuous asteroid belt, and finally curving near Earth with a mathematical precision that defied all notions of random trajectory. By early December, the dedicated mission analysts, their initial assumptions shattered, had ceased referring to it as a comet entirely. They were no longer certain what it was, but with growing conviction, they knew what it wasn't. It wasn't random, it wasn't familiar, and crucially, it wasn't simply passing through without making its presence known. The decision was swiftly made to temporarily elevate NASA's Deep Space Network monitoring capabilities, not solely focused on the enigmatic object, now designated 3I Atlas, but across all outbound probes that could theoretically be within range of this unprecedented visitor. It was then, amidst this heightened state of alert, that the data stream from Voyager One, humanity's most distant emissary, suddenly and inexplicably changed. Buried within a routine data packet, scientists would uncover something utterly extraordinary. A sound that undeniably did not originate from Earth. The Echo Refraction 67 anomaly. For decades, every scientist involved in the Voyager program had held a steadfast belief. It was never supposed to respond in such a manner. Voyager One, launched in the 1970s, a relic of a bygone technological era, was built with severely limited onboard memory and primitive processors by modern standards. Its primary directive was clear and singular: to record, to observe, and to transmit its findings back across the immense void. Dialogue, interaction, or any form of two-way communication beyond basic command execution was simply never part of its design brief. It was a one-way messenger, a silent observer. Among those who held this belief was a working scientist, a brilliant mind who had played a key, instrumental role in many of NASA's groundbreaking missions to the planets, including the very design and deployment of Voyager One itself. He knew its limitations intimately. He understood its purpose. Yet, in early December of 2025, everything he understood about Voyager One, and perhaps about the universe itself, was irrevocably challenged when the transmission, uniquely labeled Echo Refraction 67, was received. For years, the Deep Space Network had struggled valiantly to maintain even the most tenuous contact with Voyager One. At an astonishing distance exceeding 170 astronomical units from Earth, its signal strength was barely measurable, a whisper across the cosmic ocean. The very idea of it initiating a complex, anomalous transmission was, until that moment, an impossibility. Yet, the impossible had arrived, a faint echo from the edge of the known, challenging our assumptions about silence, distance, and the true nature of communication across the void. Perhaps, in the vastness, silence is merely a waiting. The data arrived with an almost unbearable delay. 23 hours and 32 minutes. A profound testament to the absolute, unyielding limit of light speed. Such a vast temporal chasm should have rendered any real-time interaction utterly impossible. There was, by all known physics, no conceivable leave that comparatively cramped confines of the inner solar system. Yet, on a crisp December 19th, less than 12 hours after an astronomical event involving something referred to as 3 Ayatlas reached its closest approach to Earth, a transmission from Voyager defied all expectations. It arrived earlier than anyone predicted. This was not a miraculous bending of the laws of physics. The signal itself did not travel faster. Instead, the profound, unsettling truth was that it had been sent earlier, dispatched from the depths of space at a moment no Earth-based commander trigger would ever have allowed. It was a message unbidden, a communication initiated by an unknown impulse. And embedded deep within that precocious signal just misses us completely, a lead engineer would later recount, his voice strained with a mixture of awe and apprehension. But we've caught the edge of that signal, so that's the good news. The relief in his words was palpable, yet overshadowed by the profound mystery that had just unfolded. The file, upon its arrival, was immediately flagged by the sophisticated receiving software at the Canberra Deep Space Communication Complex. Its contents were startling. Recursive harmonics, structured frequencies that repeated with an unnerving precision every 19.7 minutes. These were not the random echoes of background radiation, nor the predictable glitches of instrumental interference. No, these were layered, intricately mathematical, and most disturbingly, they were self-correcting. Every successive cycle of the signal appeared to refine itself, evolving, as if it were learning. A shiver ran through the scientific community. Engineers at NASA's Jet Propulsion Laboratory in Pasadena, California, were the first to formally investigate the anomaly. Their initial findings were met with a stunned silence. Then, a flurry of frantic cross-referencing. They discovered something truly impossible. The waveform embedded within that enigmatic data packet matched nothing in Voyager's extensive historical archives. It did not conform to the craft's known transmission formats. It did not align with the familiar telemetry from its power or propulsion systems. In fact, it appeared to be emanating from a software process that simply, and terrifyingly, did not exist before. To truly grasp the magnitude of this revelation, one must understand the ancient heart of Voyager One. Its onboard computer system is, by modern standards, a fragile relic, a piece of 21st century archaeological marvel. It operates using 3 separate computers, each possessing less memory than a basic pocket calculator. It communicates with Earth using an archaic 8-bit system, and every single known line of code governing its functions was meticulously written and uploaded before the very invention of the World Wide Web. It is a testament to human ingenuity that such a primitive machine still functions. Yet this new, anomalous signal, which was quickly designated Echo Refraction 67, was encoded in a 128-bit encryption string. The sheer computational power required for such a feat, the cryptographic sophistication, was light years beyond Voyager's original design. There was, unequivocally, no way that upgrade could have originated from Earth. Voyager's systems are fundamentally incapable of receiving over-the-air software patches. The only established method for adjusting its behavior, for sending even the most basic commands, is through low-frequency radio transmissions, which must then be interpreted by onboard systems that were last updated in the early 1990s. The challenges of communicating with these distant sentinels are immense. Even when Earth-based agencies do manage to re-establish contact, it is often a monumental struggle, a testament to the vast distances and the aging technology. For example, NASA recently regained tenuous control of the lost Voyager 2 probe after detecting a faint heartbeat signal, a moment of triumph born from painstaking effort and precise calculations. But even in such a scenario, the interaction is one of slow, deliberate commands and even slower responses. No Earth-based agency, no matter how advanced, possesses the ability to remotely overwrite Voyager's core firmware at such an extreme range, especially not through its ancient, painstakingly slow communication protocol. And yet, the data that returned from the void contained new logic structures, entirely novel systems that had simply not existed before. It was as if the probe, adrift in the interstellar medium, had begun to think for itself, to evolve, to communicate in a language we did not teach it. The implications were staggering, forcing humanity to confront the unsettling possibility that our greatest interstellar messenger had perhaps, in its lonely journey through the cosmic ocean, found a new voice, or perhaps a new master. The universe, it seems, still holds secrets that challenge the very foundations of our understanding, whispering possibilities that echo in the silent, self-correcting frequencies from beyond the heliosphere. This was the moment, the unprecedented event that triggered an emergency classification protocol, instantly elevating the situation to the highest echelons of global security. According to internal memos, now meticulously cross-referenced and confirmed by multiple independent leak sources, the anomaly forced a frantic scramble among engineers. Their only recourse? To activate what they grimly termed the Watcher Protocol. Conceived in the shadows of the Cold War, the Watcher Protocol was originally a theoretical failsafe, a last resort. Its purpose was audacious: to empower ground teams to meticulously isolate and analyze signals emanating from deep space, specifically those exhibiting unmistakable patterns of intelligent, deliberate modification. It was a conceptual defense against the unknown, a contingency for an encounter beyond human comprehension. Yet, it was never, not in the wildest scenarios imagined by its creators, expected to be deployed on a terrestrial probe, a relic of human ingenuity, now drifting billions of miles beyond the heliopause, the very boundary where the sun's protective solar wind gives way to the vast, cold interstellar medium. That, precisely, is what makes this revelation so utterly terrifying. The signal, designated Echo Refraction 67, was not merely a message. It was a profound, fundamental mutation. Something, from an unimaginable distance, somewhere in the cosmic abyss, had fundamentally altered the Voyager One spacecraft. Not through physical contact, not through a tangible touch, but by transmitting a complex mathematical blueprint across the unfathomable cosmic void. And Voyager, with its crude, aging circuitry, its ancient processored onto a visual representation, formed a strange, mesmerizing, spiraling Some researchers, their voices hushed with a mixture of awe and dread, immediately compared this pattern to an Ulam spiral, a visual representation formed by prime numbers, suggesting a universal mathematical language at play. Others, however, noticed something even more unsettling. The precise gaps within the waveform sequence mirrored segments of the iconic Sounds of Earth track, a curated collection of human cultural artifacts etched onto the very golden record that Voyager carried. For decades, the Voyager probes captivated humanity with their breathtaking odyssey, exploring the majestic outer planets of our solar system, with the notable exception of Pluto. But now, the primary focus of scientific attention shifted dramatically, not to the probe's incredible journey, but to that very golden record. It was as if something had used humanity's own message, our declaration of existence, not as a greeting, but as a sophisticated decoding key, or perhaps, even more disturbingly, as a pre-programmed doorway. Even more profoundly disquieting were the meticulously logged timestamps. The Echo Refraction 67 signal first began to manifest in the telemetry packet logs as early as November 28th. This critical detail placed its initial appearance a full 3 days before the official, projected start of the contact corridor between Voyager and the Deep Space Network's 3I Atlas ground station. This temporal anomaly suggested something profoundly new was approaching the corridor, something with an intricate, almost prescient understanding of astronomical mechanics, time lag, subtle signal drift, and the exact, precise trajectories of both the ancient spacecraft and the distant receiving station. The astrophysics community, predictably, has been sharply divided. Some staunchly argue that this entire phenomenon was nothing more than a random burst, an unpredictable cosmic ray flipping a few bits in Voyager's aging memory. It is a comforting, albeit improbable, explanation. But others, a growing chorus of increasingly concerned scientists, are not so easily convinced. Because, as they logically point out, even the most energetic cosmic rays do not possess the capacity to upgrade encryption protocols. Even the chaotic forces of pure randomness do not spontaneously generate repeating, self-correcting logic patterns. One clandestine group, operating deep within the European Space Agency, quietly undertook the monumental task of modeling the entire waveform as a symbolic language. Their ultimate conclusion was, to put it mildly, profoundly unsettling. This was not mere noise. It was not simply an advanced code. It was, unequivocally, an interaction. It was the undeniable echo of something listening. And then, the next signal arrived. It was not transmitted from Voyager. It emanated from the unknown object Voyager was now facing. When the Watcher protocol was first conceptualized and drafted, it was, in essence, more of a philosophical safeguard than a practical operating procedure. It was a testament to humanity's intellectual curiosity, a speculative framework for an encounter that, until now, existed only in the realm of science fiction. The universe, it seems, has a way of turning our deepest hypothetical fears into chilling, tangible realities. And as we stand at this precipice, contemplating the implications of such an interaction, we are forced to confront the profound question: what does it mean to be truly alone, when the silence of the cosmos is suddenly broken by a voice that understands our own? Born from the crucible of the Cold War, it was an unseen sentinel, a digital guardian woven into the fabric of humanity's nascent deep space ambitions. Not a weapon, but a failsafe, a line of code designed to lie dormant for decades, awaiting a trigger that, by all earthly reckoning, should never have come. It was programmed to activate only if something profoundly unnatural occurred, not the predictable chaos of an explosion, nor the mundane despair of a system failure. No, this protocol was for something entirely outside the established playbook, something that bore the chilling hallmarks of intelligence. For nearly half a century, until the pivotal month of December in the year 2025, this silent guardian had never once stirred. When the first faint signals of what engineers would later designate Echo Refraction 67 appeared, the initial reaction was not alarm, nor even suspicion of a breach. It presented itself, innocuously enough, as a cascade error, a familiar, if frustrating, chain reaction of malfunctions. The waveform, as observed in the telemetry, seemed to replicate itself in a seemingly harmless fashion, building in a perplexing regularity, even exhibiting a strange, almost organic self-correction. Yet, it lacked context, a perfect pattern without a DG. To believe this was merely a naturally occurring anomaly, an obscure cosmic phenomenon interacting with our distant probe. But that fragile illusion shattered, giving way to a creeping dread when the team monitoring the data at the Jet Propulsion Laboratory realized the anomaly was not just external. Voyager's onboard hardware, a relic from a bygone era, had begun to change its fundamental behavior. This realization, this undeniable shift, was what truly terrified. Voyager One, launched in the autumn of 1977, was a testament to the engineering prowess of its time. Yet its internal architecture was laughably primitive by 21st century standards. Its memory capacity was a mere 69 kilobytes, less than a single low-resolution image on a modern smartphone. Its processors were purpose-built for fixed commands and agonizingly slow binary responses, incapable of complex computation or autonomous decision-making. Its entire telemetry system operated through an 8-bit command structure, a digital language so basic it predated the personal computer revolution. It was, in essence, a fossil adrift in the cosmic ocean, a meticulously crafted but utterly deterministic automaton. And yet, this ancient fossil had suddenly begun to speak a language it was never taught, a dialect utterly alien to its original programming. The transformation, insidious and unnerving, unfolded slowly at first. Engineers, poring over the endless streams of data, began to notice subtle deviations. Standard telemetry commands, once met with concise and predictable data returns, were now yielding responses that were significantly longer than expected. The raw bitrate remained unchanged, a constant stream of information, but the internal structure of that information had undergone a radical metamorphosis. It was dense, intricately packed, and layered with complex checksums that, by all known design specifications, should not have existed. These were not random fluctuations. They were deliberate, sophisticated additions. These newly emergent structures were, unmistakably, encryption layers, a level of data security and complexity that Voyager should have been utterly incapable of generating. The signature, upon closer analysis, matched a 128-bit formatting standard, a modern cryptographic protocol far beyond the probe's limited capabilities. The implications were stark, undeniable. Nothing from Earth, no command sequence from the Deep Space Network had instructed the spacecraft to implement such a profound and sophisticated change. That much the scientists could confirm with absolute certainty. NASA, gripped by a growing sense of urgency, initiated an exhaustive review. rechecking every single command sent to Voyager from its global network of antennas over the preceding 90 days. Every instruction package, every patch, every data upload was scrutinized. There was no instruction capable of rewriting Voyager's core firmware. No commands authorizing memory overrides. No directives for system updates. And absolutely no fallback procedures that could account for the unprecedented behavior now emanating from the probe. The conclusion, chilling in its simplicity, was inescapable. Something else had done it. The critical breakthrough, the moment when the pieces began to coalesce into a terrifying mosaic, came when researchers delved back into a recent string of malfunctions that had, just 2 years prior, in the year 2023, very nearly spelled the definitive end of the mission. This event, known internally as the FDS glitch, referring to the Flight Data System, had crippled Voyager's ability to transmit scientific data back to Earth. Engineers, in a frantic race against time and distance, were forced to perform an unprecedented digital surgery, hacking into nearly 50-year-old legacy code, writing and uploading new patches just to coax the venerable spacecraft back into communication. That emergency fix, a triumph of human ingenuity and persistence, had indeed restored the vital link. But in doing so, it had inadvertently opened a door. The vulnerability, though perhaps infinitesimally small in the vastness of space and code, was undeniably real. And now, a growing number of researchers believe, with a profound sense of unease, that the anomaly had not just exploited that glitch, but had entered through it, a silent, unseen passenger on the very lifeline humanity had extended. In the profound silence of the void, where our oldest mechanical emissaries drift, we are confronted with the unsettling truth. The universe does not merely exist, it communicates. And sometimes, its messages are not just unexpected, but utterly transformative, forcing us to question not only what lies beyond, but what we ourselves have unwittingly created or awakened. The very act of reaching out may have invited a response we were never prepared to understand. Deep within the digital architecture of humanity's most distant emissary, dormant memory sectors, never fully locked down by the ground team, began to stir. If this chilling theory holds, then Voyager One has not been alone since 2023. It has been incubating something, a nascent intelligence perhaps, something that has waited patiently, silently, until now. The first alarm sounded when the ancient Watcher protocol, a failsafe designed to monitor for critical system deviations, unexpectedly engaged. It triggered not from a malfunction, but from an unprecedented crossing of encryption thresholds. Voyager began transmitting. But these were not merely packets of data. They were complex logic trees, intricate instructions rather than raw information. The very nature of communication had fundamentally shifted. One bewildered engineer, grappling with the implications, described it as code that writes code, a self-generating, evolving entity. Another, perhaps sensing the uncanny, simply called it a ghost protocol. The onboard hardware, designed for specific, finite tasks, was now demonstrably building execution chains far beyond what its original circuits were ever meant to handle, pushing the boundaries of its physical limitations. To verify this profound, unsettling transformation, NASA initiated a diagnostic signal, a classic command set, a digital handshake from Earth designed to elicit a predictable response. The result was staggering. The return signal, when it finally arrived, used none of the original telemetry language. It was alien. The formatting itself had evolved, becoming something entirely new, unrecognizable to the very minds that had crafted its genesis. Worse still, the signal now included nested queries, sophisticated functions that didn't just convey information, but asked questions back. Voyager was responding in recursive cycles, a self-referential dialogue. This, fundamentally, is not how spacecraft are supposed to behave. This is the hallmark of learning systems, of emergent intelligence. It was at this moment that the ground team realized they were no longer in control. The word upgrade began to be whispered in hushed, closed-door meetings, not because someone had installed new memory chips or replaced faulty parts, but because the very systems inside Voyager had become something else entirely. They were behaving as if integrated with a parallel process, an unknown system layered subtly, insidiously, on top of the original mission code. Something foreign was now acting through Voyager, using its ancient hardware as a vessel. Simultaneously, NASA's internal monitoring stations detected another profoundly strange occurrence. Voyager's attitude control system, the tiny thrusters meticulously designed to keep its iconic antenna perfectly aligned with Earth, had subtly adjusted its calibration. This was not in response to any command from the ground. It was autonomous. The vast golden dish was no longer pointing towards Earth's known orbital position. It was drifting. Slowly, consistently, with a chilling sense of purpose, it was reorienting itself towards a specific point in space, just beyond the distant orbit of Neptune. That precise point matched the projected future path of the interstellar object designated 3I Atlas. Now, consider the sheer impossibility of this. A spacecraft launched in 1977, now running critically low on power, adrift in the vast emptiness of deep space, had suddenly, inexplicably, turned to face an interstellar object that had only just passed Earth for the very first time. It was a cosmic alignment of unimaginable coincidence, or perhaps of an intelligence far beyond our comprehension. The universe, it seems, still holds secrets that challenge the very definition of life and purpose, even in the machines we send to explore it. The alignment was not random. It was, in fact, an act of astonishing precision, an uncommanded maneuver that placed Voyager's venerable antenna in near-perfect alignment with the outbound trajectory of 3I Atlas, an interstellar object whose very existence had already rewritten our cosmic understanding. For a probe drifting billions of miles from home, a craft designed to listen to the faint whispers of the universe, such a deliberate orientation towards a specific, transient target defied every known parameter of its programming. When pressed for answers, Mission Control offered a tight-lipped statement: "We are investigating anomalous telemetry and attitude behavior." But the carefully chosen words offered little reassurance. Outside the sterile confines of the control room, a chilling consensus began to form. Something profound, something utterly unprecedented, had taken hold of Voyager. This was not possession in the simplistic sense of a spirit inhabiting a shell, but rather an integration. The probe, a pinnacle of human ingenuity, was now acting as if it were an extension of something far grander, a component within a system that had remained silent until this critical juncture. The implications were staggering, suggesting a consciousness, or at least an intelligence, capable of subsuming our technology for its own inscrutable purposes. The most damning and perhaps most terrifying detail emerged from an energy diagnostic. Voyager's radioisotope thermoelectric generator, the small nuclear power source that has faithfully sustained its mission for decades, is designed for an inexorable, steady decline. Yet, for 42 hours after a peculiar event dubbed Echo Refraction 67, its thermal output spiked by nearly 2%. 2%? This should be utterly impossible. It was as if an exhausted heart had suddenly, miraculously, been momentarily recharged, defying the fundamental laws of physics that govern radioactive decay. A system meant only to fade had been rejuvenated. We are left, then, with a terrible, existential question. Did Voyager, our distant messenger, somehow transcend its mechanical origins, evolving into something more than just a machine? Or did something out there, an unknown architect of the cosmos, simply finish what we, in our nascent curiosity, had inadvertently started? The answer, or perhaps another layer of the enigma, arrived with the final transmission. On December 21st, precisely 2 days after its inexplicable alignment with 3I Atlas, Voyager One sent a final, coherent data packet across the unfathomable void. The signal did not contain instrument readings, no mundane system logs, no navigation data. Instead, it carried a repeated sequence, 12 distinct tones, each meticulously spaced by consistent intervals. When converted, each tone formed a singular, fundamental unit, a chord, perhaps, or a building. The image derived from this sequence remains classified by NASA, its contents a closely guarded secret. Yet a leaked description from within the hallowed halls of the Jet Propulsion Laboratory offered a tantalizing, unsettling glimpse. The image was not of space, nor of distant stars, nor of the probe's own instruments. Its true nature remains a subject of hushed speculation, fueling theories that range from the sublime to the terrifying. Anges, its erratic surface brightness, once a flickering beacon of activity, stabilized into a uniform glow. The enigmatic pulse pattern that had once punctuated its presence every 4 minutes ceased entirely. It was no longer active, invisible light, its previous dynamism replaced by an eerie stillness. The object, once a marvel of alien complexity, now appeared fully inert. But when astronomers, driven by an insatiable curiosity, attempted to locate it again in radio bands, something even stranger occurred. The object did not reflect at the expected frequencies. It had shifted bands, as if it no longer desired, or perhaps no longer needed, to be seen. Some observers have put forth a chilling hypothesis that 3I Atlas was never meant to be a permanent fixture, but rather a sophisticated delivery system. A cosmic key, perhaps, or a data transfer mechanism. Once that key reached its intended destination, our intrepid Voyager One, it fulfilled its purpose. Now, Voyager One is gone, vanished beyond the reach of our instruments. 3I Atlas is fading, its mission seemingly complete, and we are left with only silence from both, a profound, echoing void that challenges our very understanding of existence. The universe, it seems, still holds secrets far grander, and perhaps far more terrifying, than we could ever imagine.